This is Russell Parry on 102.8 Chorley FM, and welcome to this community show interview. Today I'm at the home of Sylvia Partington, who is co-ordinator of the Chorley branch of Guide Dogs. And your guide dog Marley is with us here as well. And we're also joined by Dave Wells, who is volunteer puppy walker and volunteer with Chorley Guide Dogs. And Dave is with his guide dog puppy that's squeezing in between us as we speak. And your puppy is called Jimbo, and Jimbo's sat down here, so you might be able to hear Jimbo throughout the interview. He's pottering around. He's got his toy here in front of us, and Jimbo is a beautiful black retriever, and what a beautiful dog he is too. Well, great to meet you, Sylvia and Dave, and of course Marley and Jimbo as well, and thank you for taking part in this programme. Now, I first met you, or spoke to you, Sylvia, back in June, if you remember. Seems a long time ago, doesn't it now? And at the time, you were just arranging your summer fair, I believe. So how did that go?
That went very well. Very, very well. Well received by everybody, and everyone had an absolute whale of a time.
Excellent.
So
and you raised some money there for the charity as well?
I can't quite remember how much. It was about £800, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was about £800 for the charity.
And it wasn't until we were just chatting before that all your funding comes from the public.
Comes from the public.
There's
from donations.
Yeah.
All donations, no public funding, no government funding at all. So all these summer fairs and your Christmas fair we're talking about that's coming up a little bit later.
That's it.
The little collecting boxes in the shops, and the dogs, the big dogs that they put the money in.
That's
their heads
it.
And things like that. It all comes from that.
Comes from that.
Everything comes from your public, basically. They donate everything. And it's
Excellent.
brilliant.
And that's why we sort of had the idea just to do this interview, really, just to get the word out there a little bit more, really.
It is. We've had one of which I think is an amazing donation, and that was somebody left us their bungalow in their will. And that was for Chorley Guide Dogs to sort out.
So that was a local...
And that was a local person who supported Guide Dogs.
Really?
I mean, I've never come across anything like that before. It's just amazing.
How generous is that?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It never ceases to make the generosity of some people, isn't it great?
No,
really?
it is. It's absolutely fabulous.
But Chorley people are like that.
Yes.
I've worked in Chorley since 1974. When I did my previous job, I'm retired now.
Yes.
But I've always found the people Chorley to be gentle, and they're absolutely brilliant with the dogs. I go in the shops with this little towel, and
Yes.
they're just so... I mean, I've had people walk up to me in the street and give me a £5 note. Can you put that in for me?
Marvellous, isn't it? Marvellous. How generous is
This is Chorley people. They are absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, Sylvia, where did you get your first guide dog?
Marley's actually is my first guide dog. We've been a partnership for 4 years. We qualified in the end of May 2013, and he's an absolute dream.
Well, I met him as I came in, and he kind of surprised me, really, because he was having a mad half hour, wasn't he?
Yep.
With Jimbo here, running around the place. And for some reason, I just had in my head that guide dogs, they're very calm, very placid, but I guess they're just like any dog. They just want a bit of fun.
They do. When they're off duty, they are just a normal dog,
Yes.
as you saw when they came in. But you say about the calmness now. Marley's through on his bed, and he's not bothered. He's nice and calm.
Yes.
Jimbo, as a pup, he's calmed down nicely.
Yes.
But it's
That's
good
only
for
'cause
them.
he's forgotten his ear.
I've got you, yes. Yeah.
But it is good for them
Yeah.
to mix like this.
Yes.
And because Dave and I do a lot of talks together, Dave and Stella's pups are brought up with Marley right from the word go. So they all get on so well together. It's amazing. But having said that, you said about the calmness. We can have, when we have our meetings, we can have, at times we've had upwards of 8 dogs. Somebody can walk in to the room, not know that they're there because they are all under the table, all quiet, all behaving.
Isn't that incredible?
Meeting finishes and the dogs come out and you get people going, how many were here? So,
That's down to the training, I guess, isn't it, really?
It is.
Okay, so how much does it actually cost to train a guide dog?
Well, from birth to retirement, it's roughly £55,000.
It's actually
per
gone
dog.
up now. They've redone it. It's 56
It's
now.
56 now.
56.
Actual training is about roughly £25,000 just for the training.
Really? And what sort of time scale are we talking about there?
They're usually working by the time they're 2. My last pup, Emerald, will be matched sometime around Christmas, and she'll be 19 months old. So roughly that sort of time is when they go out working.
And that's a lot of money, isn't it, really?
It is, but that's it's a long time. You know, you're talking 10 years.
But to raise, I'm talking about really for each dog. That's phenomenal, isn't it? Really?
I think they've just reached 5,000 working guide dogs now.
Yeah, that was the last.
That doesn't include pups. There's always at least 1,000 pups
in training
throughout the country.
Yes, yeah.
And 5,000 guide dogs who are provided for by the guide dog organisation.
Understand.
I don't pay anything for him.
No.
They pay all his vet bills.
Yes.
All his food bills.
Yes, yeah.
The bus companies and the train companies are great because they let me get on the bus for nothing.
Because you're training.
We only do short runs, but
yes.
But they're absolutely brilliant, aren't they?
Yes.
And the same with you. Man, you have a bus pass, haven't you now?
So I tell you, you've got a bit of banter between you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Here, and of course that comes out when you do all these talks, I guess.
Does, yes.
As well.
Does. And it's good because it helps to break any atmosphere that might be there.
Yes.
If people realise that, yes, they can have a laugh and a joke with us. And a lot of the time it's because people don't know how to approach somebody who's visually impaired.
Yes, that's right.
So to see that, yes, we're just like anybody else. We like to have a bit of fun.
Well, when I knocked the door this morning, I wouldn't have known at all.
Thank you.
Really, seriously. And it's credit, isn't it, really? You just got to get on, haven't you,
yes,
I guess? And
you have. You have at the end of the day. You've just got to get on and do it.
We mentioned there about talks. And Sylvia, yourself and Dave, I know you do a lot of talks. I've had a look at your social media pages, and you do talks all over the place.
I think there's about 6 of us, isn't there?
6 in our group.
Yes.
All speakers, and we all do different bits. But because we can all work together, you might find 3 of us will do one talk.
Correct, yes.
And it's good, isn't it? And we do manage, hopefully, to get point over
the message across.
The message across that we're trying to get to people about guide dogs.
Excellent. Well, some of the questions I've got, which no doubt you've been asked thousands of times before, but there were just things as I was driving here today that I'd just like the answers to, really, if you could help out. And the first one is, how do guide dogs actually know when it's safe to cross the road? And how do they take you? Do they literally pull you across the road, or do they walk in front of you if it's not safe and stop you from stepping out? How does it work?
Once you're at a crossing, the dog either sits or stands on your command of wait. Obviously, we still press the button.
Yep.
If it's a sound controlled one, you wait for the sound.
Yes.
If it's a silent one, hand underneath and feel for the cone, wait for that to spin.
Right.
But the actual crossing of the road,
yes.
that comes down to the dog handler, that comes down to us. We give the dog the command forward. If the dog thinks it's not safe to go,
yes.
it will not move. It will stay put.
Right.
You repeat the command,
yes.
and after about the 3rd time, it's a case of, right, you either find a different route,
yes.
or you ask for assistance.
So it's definitely not safe.
It's definitely not safe.
At that stage, yes.
But the dog has to rely on us giving it the command.
In the first place.
And then it reacts, yes.
Yeah.
But they are trained not to move if they can hear an engine.
Right. Yes.
Which is why guide dogs have had a campaign going to have quiet cars have some sort of sound put to them.
So these electric cars
yes.
are potentially a problem.
Yes, yes.
Well, I never thought of that before, because I was in a car park just a few weeks ago, and a car was blocking me in, and it was a Tesla, so one of these top-of-the-range electric cars. And the gentleman kindly moved it out of the way, but I was amazed that there was absolutely no noise at all. And that's going to be a problem then, isn't it, in the future?
A very
possibly?
big problem, yes. They are actually trying to have the manufacturers build something in that is literally just to emit enough noise
yes.
for the working dogs to hear.
Just to pick up, just to know if it's safe or not.
Because we rely on the dog and they rely on their ears more than anything else when they're working.
Amazing. Wow, I've learned something here. Well, incredible.
On cars and traffic, can I just put another little bit in?
Of course, yeah.
Which is a big bugbear. Drivers see us at roads and they stop and they flag us on.
Yes.
Please, drivers, don't do that.
Right.
Because we can't see that you're doing it.
No. No.
If we give the dog the command to cross, somebody coming up behind them might not know why you've stopped and just think that you're parked.
Overtake.
And just overtake.
Yeah. And it's an accident.
Waiting to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So please don't get cross with us if we stand there and say keep going. It's for our safety as well as.
But this is where all your talk come in, so we get that awareness out there, isn't it?
Yes,
really.
That's it.
Isn't that right?
That's
and
right.
this is where your training comes in with the dogs in the first place, and these commands.
Yep, all the different commands, and all the commands we use are right through guide. All the puppy walkers in the country.
So it's consistent.
Yes.
So that when they leave us and go to the new owners taught the commands.
Yes.
So it just carries on.
Exactly. One more question before we take a little break. We all know as dog owners, you're out taking your dog for a walk and your dog does a poo on the pavement or the grass or wherever. And of course, they are obliged to clear it up. Otherwise, they're looking at a fine, I guess, aren't they, from the council or whatever?
They don't always clear it up, but...
No, absolutely right. What on earth happens with partially sighted people and guide dogs when obviously, it'd be difficult for you to do that? What happens then?
Well, we are actually exempt from picking up after our dogs.
Yes.
But I don't know anybody with a guide dog or an assistance dog that actually follows that rule. We all clear up after our own dogs. And quite often you'll find that you'll have some member of the public might be coming up behind you, and it has happened where they'll say, that's fine, I'll do that for you. And again, it just shows how kind the public can be to us. But yeah, if we can't see it, we don't have to.
No.
But we will. We do our best.
Yes, yeah. And you probably do more than most people, or try to at least.
I think we do.
Yes.
I think we do, yes. Definitely.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's take a short break for some music, and then after that we'll continue our chat. Welcome back. I'm talking to Sylvia Partington, coordinator of the Chorley branch of Guide Dogs, and Dave Wells, volunteer puppy walker and volunteer with Chorley Guide Dogs. And with us we have Sylvia's guide dog Marley and the guide dog puppy Jimbo, who is at my feet at the moment, and he's chewing on, if you can hear him chomping away, he's chewing on a little bone at the moment and being very good. I think he's calmed down since I first came in this morning here. Now, we were just talking about how guide dogs started, weren't we, just in the break there. And I mentioned my dad is from Wallasey, born there in 1930. So my dad's a bit of an old boy these days, but he's still up to mischief. But in 1931, two ladies founded, is that right, the Guide Dogs. So just tell us a little bit about
England.
that. In England, yes. Yes.
Originally it came from Germany.
Right.
Which was sometime around the end of the First World War.
Right, yes.
When a doctor there, who had his own German Shepherd, used to take it into the wards with him.
Yes.
As pat dog, really.
Yeah. A bit like they do today, of course, yes.
And then he found that the dog was actually leading people around. And basically that was the seed of it. It started growing from there.
Yes.
And, I mean, obviously it's worldwide now. And,
of course, yes.
And it started, as I said, here in 1931 in Liverpool.
Yes.
All German Shepherds. I think there were 4 were the original ones, weren't there?
Yep.
In fact, somewhere I've got a picture of the 4.
Have you really?
Wow. That somebody gave me.
Yes.
And there's these 4 blokes and these 4 German Shepherds sat next to them, and they're so impressive.
Really? I'd love to see that picture. If you can find it, send it.
I shall dig it out and email it to you.
Yeah. Oh, that would be terrific. So that's how it all started back in 1931 in Wallasey, over in the Wirral. Right. Okay. Now Marley, I think having a bit of a rest at the moment. Nice and quiet. Jimbo is here now. Of course, these are really working dogs, aren't they?
They are.
And everybody, of course, loves guide dogs. But when they're working and guiding you, what should you really not do? Because I guess people come up and they want to make such a fuss over them. And I can understand why, especially the puppies as well, I'm sure. Yeah. But what really should people not do in these situations?
Plain and simply, not distract the dog. Don't go to touch it. Don't call it. And certainly don't feed it. People do. People will walk past you and feed the dog a biscuit. But what we do say is please come and talk to us, the people. Yeah. You know, after all, you wouldn't go into a field where there's a working sheepdog and go and call the dog away from working with the sheep. So why do it with a working dog out with the general public?
Of course.
But we're not lepers. You don't have to cross the road and steer clear of us. Please come and say hello to us, and then 9 times out of 10 you'll be allowed to say hello to the dog.
And if I'm out with a pup, which I am regularly, I'm always in supermarkets, and people come up to me and ask me if
Yes.
they can stroke the dog. I've not a problem.
That's fine.
They can stroke the pup as long as they want, because it keeps
Yes.
him quiet.
Yes.
He loves it. But it's when they just walk up and go straight down to the dog. Don't ask me. Don't speak to me. You know, I mean, I'm on his puppy walk.
Yeah.
I don't count. You know, but they and it gets a bit. Quite often, I'll just walk off.
Yes. Yes.
Because if they asked me, it's not
Then
a
that's
problem.
fine. Yes.
It's not a problem
Yes.
at all.
And you were saying just in the break there that actually children are a little bit better informed at these things.
Absolutely.
Than the parents sometimes.
I think a lot of that is down to the talks that we do.
Of course.
We always tell the children, come and ask us first.
Yes.
Don't ignore us, just come and ask first. And they will tell the parents, Mum, you can't touch that dog. It's a guide dog. You have to ask first.
And isn't that good? Because
And
you message
regularly
them.
happens, even as when I've got the pups, that
Yes.
happens to me.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not being funny or awkward. It is practical, because you distract the dog and it pulls. It could actually pull us over.
Of course. Yes.
We could actually then walk into something.
Yes.
So it's all practicality. You have to keep the dog within the working frame of mind.
Absolutely. And all that training, of course,
That's
it would
right.
go to waste, wouldn't it?
It would.
If
And
things
what
like
you
that.
also have to remember is that they might be going to a doctor's appointment or something like that and
Yes.
rushing, and so they won't have time.
No.
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
That's
You know,
it.
I'm
And
going-
people, they should understand that, shouldn't they? Yes.
And that's
Yes.
a lot of people don't, but the majority do. They're quite good.
Yeah.
The public are quite good.
Of course, yeah.
It's always the odd one.
But it's just getting that awareness out there
Yeah.
that this is what you should and shouldn't do, isn't
Yes,
it, really?
it is.
And you were talking about supermarkets there, and obviously that's a big part of your training, taking them in to such places. But also, I think I saw on your social media page something about Chorley FC as well. So what's the link there with Chorley FC?
The Chorley community have raised enough money now to name 2 pups. The first one was Ashley.
Yes.
And the second one was, we called it Magpie.
Of course, yes.
And so the link between the Magpies,
yeah.
Chorley FC, and
Yes.
the pup, and that's why
That's
we're at
great.
Chorley FC.
So they raised £5,000. So
5,000
all down to the great
to name the pup.
people of Chorley.
Jimbo's a sponsored pup as well.
Yes.
As is Marley, isn't it?
Marley was
Yes.
a sponsored pup.
Yes, yeah, and I was saying before, my workplace, we sponsor pups there, and you get
That's
a little bit of
brilliant.
information every 6 months or so, and a photograph,
That's right,
and I think the last one we did, we had an update a little while later, and it went to a young girl who went to university and takes her to her lectures, and it was lovely to to find that out. So the dog's working life, how long are you likely to have Marley for? When do they sort of retire? How does that work?
They start to look at, hopefully they will work up until about the age of 10. You do get the exception that maybe go on to 11 or 12, but that'll be because the dog and the owner have grown old together and
Yes.
slowed down together, and
Yes.
the partnership is still working. So it's the old.
If the dog's fit enough as well,
Yeah.
that guide dogs will let it carry on working.
Yes.
Because believe it or not, the dogs actually love doing it.
I bet they do,
They,
yes.
they really enjoy working, don't
They
they?
do.
Yeah, so they assess it, and each one will be different, I guess.
Yes.
But once they get to about 8 or 9, they come and look at them every 6 months,
Yeah.
just to check
Yes.
that they're all right.
Yes.
And they carry it on from there, don't they?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So you've got a few more years yet with
Yes,
Marley.
most definitely.
That's great. That's great to hear. And just tell me, is there anywhere where guide dogs are not allowed to go?
Basically, only 2 places, and that's a hospital operating theatre
Right. Okay.
and food preparation areas, as in cafes, hotels, restaurants,
course.
and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And that's it. People quite often will say, oh, they can't go into intensive care units. That's down to the intensive care unit.
Right.
And quite often, they will actually, if it's the dog's owner that's in intensive care, they will encourage the dog to be taken in
Yes.
so that the patient can actually have the dog stroked, and it helps with recovery.
Of course it will.
So
Yes. Yeah.
it's absolutely brilliant.
Excellent. So pretty much anywhere, really.
Yes.
They
yes.
shouldn't be restricted.
No.
Now, we talked before, you rely such a lot on fundraising, and that brings in volunteers. So what do volunteers do? What can they expect to do? I guess they can't all be puppy walkers and things like that. So
They do loads. I mean, our volunteers, I say, we're only a little group, and everybody mucks in and does
Yeah.
loads. I mean, we have a Christmas fair coming up a week tomorrow.
yes, I've seen all about that. Is that
Sunday,
the 3rd
Sunday
of
the 3rd
December?
of December.
Yes.
At St Mary's Community Centre on Devonshire Road.
Yep.
It's 1 till 4:30.
Yep.
Okay.
And all the volunteers get in there. They bake cakes. They serve tea. They man the stalls, and everybody gets
Yes.
involved, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's really good, isn't it? And if we're doing a collection, I mean, we do occasional street collections in Chorley, and we have to do a rota because obviously the dogs get tired.
Yes.
They can only do so much.
Yeah.
But they're always there, and they're always rattling buckets and doing all sorts. Really, anything.
So they can
anything
get involved
to
in
raise any
anything
money.
from baking cakes to puppy walking.
We've also got volunteers within the group who do a lot behind the scenes.
Yes.
I mean, one of our ladies, Vanessa, she has got contacts with a dress agency, and they buy clothes off her, which all the money goes in.
Yes.
She takes clothes to be weighed in at the weighing in centres and everything like that.
She's an eBay queen.
She's an
Right.
eBay queen,
Okay.
anything that needs selling.
But it's all just raising money.
She's
It
brilliant.
is.
I mean, she's just moving house, and she's had to sort of downsize slightly, hasn't she? While she moves.
Yes,
But
of course.
her upstairs used to be like a clothes shop.
Yeah.
She had racks and racks of all this stuff just for selling to make money for guide
Really
dogs.
terrific.
We've also got Mick Ward, who is Chippy.
Yes.
And he makes things to sell. I mean, they get invited to craft fairs left,
Yes.
right and centre,
Yes.
but also our own fairs.
Yeah.
And everything that he makes is absolutely superb, but it's all made out of recycled wood.
Right.
And anything that has been given to him.
He's always
He
scrounging
always-
cupboard doors and
Is
things
he?
like that.
Right.
You don't want that,
Okay.
I'll have
There's
it.
abs-
He can do something with it.
Oh yeah,
If anybody
absolutely.
can, he can.
Yeah.
I mean, I went round to his house the other day because Mick and Linda have Clover, who's a retired dog,
Yeah.
and they also look after my pups when I go on my
Yes.
holidays.
Yeah.
But I went round the other day, and his living room is just, you can't get in it.
Right.
You literally can't get in it.
Okay.
For things that he's made, things
Yes.
like that sign that says
Oh,
Marley
the sign,
over there.
Marley. I can see that.
That's one that Mick made, and
Excellent.
he does all sorts of things. But this is now he's got little dogs with Christmas hats on and
Oh,
and
brilliant.
all sorts of
So
things.
all these things that you can expect to see at the Christmas fair.
Yeah.
Along
Yeah.
with
Brilliant. Yep.
which Mick made,
Yes.
and he made it for last year's Christmas fair for
Yes.
us, a full-sized sleigh.
Really?
And that
Wow.
will be in the middle
Which we
of
have
the
to get a
hall.
van to move.
Oh,
Yes,
it's that big, is it?
That is that big. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Now,
it's amazing.
at this Christmas fair, somebody has told me that, I don't know if this is right or not, Sylvia, that you dress up as an elf. Is that
Yes,
really true?
I do.
Well, tell us, what can we expect to see then of you at this Christmas fair?
Literally, well, I'll be the one member of Chorley Guide Dogs who will actually not be wearing uniform.
Right.
I will actually be wearing an elf's outfit, and
Excellent.
I sit with Santa, and I have
I
Marley
forgot
with
about
me.
Santa. He'll be there as well.
Yes.
Of course.
So
Gotta be there.
Santa
Well,
has to have his little helper.
the 3rd of December is my wife's birthday, so as a special treat, you see, I must take her to see Santa, of course.
definitely.
I'll
Mustn't
buy
I?
her a cup of tea
Brilliant. We'll definitely be there. We'll
And a mince
definitely
pie.
be.
and a mince pie.
Can't be bad. Now, you do lots of talks. We mentioned that briefly before, all about guide dogs and some of the questions that we've asked here as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
How are people best to get in touch with you if they want to talk for their organisation or school or whatever it may be?
Well, two ways really. If you're on Facebook, look us up on Facebook.
Yes.
Chorley Guide Dogs
Fine.
on Facebook. And you can send us a private message or just drop us a quick note on the Facebook page.
Great.
Or phone Guide Dogs themselves at Atherton. And
Right.
if you log on to Guide Dogs,
Yes.
all the appropriate numbers are there. And
Fine.
you can
So a
book
search on the
talk.
internet,
And
guide dogs,
Atherton will-
Chorley or Atherton.
Yeah, and Atherton will just pass it on to.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but probably you want to get over your Facebook page, and that's Chorley
Yes.
Guide Dogs.
Chorley
They
Guide
search for that.
Yep.
Up you come, send you a message, and then you'll take it from there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for our little interview today. Oh, and Jimbo's coming back. He's found his bone again at my feet, and he's coming in between us here. Sylvia, Dave, thank you very much for
Thank you
inviting me
for
here
coming.
to have a chat with you today. And Marley's very quiet out the back there now.
For now.
And thanks, Jimbo, as well. He's come to see us. He's got a little toy he's just brought me.
That's one
here.
of Marley's toys that he's pinched.
Is it? Okay. Well, thank you very, very much indeed. Just remind Chorley FM listeners where they can get in touch with you for more information about volunteering and your talks. What's the best route again for them to do that?
Find us on Facebook, Chorley Guide Dogs, and we're very, very quick at responding.
Excellent.
And the more people that look at our Facebook page, the better.
Thank you very much indeed. Sylvia, Dave,
Thank
and
you.
Jimbo, thank you very much indeed.
Welcome.
All the very best. Thank you. If you want to take part in a community show interview about your charity, society or group, all you have to do is email me on russell.p, that's SELL.P@chorley.fm. Send me all your details and I'll arrange for an interview.